And I'd speak for everybody in the program that we're really looking forward to March. You know, you put yourself in a position where you want to be relative this time of month, but this time of the season, and you want to have a chance to compete for different championships. And this is the next opportunity on our schedule is the conference tournament championship. So we're looking forward to it, and then ultimately we're looking forward to competing in the national tournament as well. So this is the best month of the year for those of us who are involved in this sport. And I know I speak for the players, too, that we're excited and looking forward to the challenge.
For the next several years.
Yeah, it's first of all, I'm like humbled, and I'm just so appreciative of the commitment that Dr. Skovanec and the leadership, and then Kirby putting trust in our coaching staff and me personally to lead the program. You know, we're just getting started. We've got a vision for this thing to build it to where we can compete for championships on a yearly basis. Where a good year is not getting in the tournament, a good year is getting a good seed where we can make a run. This is our vision, and it's exciting for me personally that I share that with the leadership of this school, you know, especially Tony and Kirby, who I work with on a day-to-day basis. I'm also really appreciative of everybody that came before us. You know, I think the great opportunities that we find ourselves in today with college basketball from a player point of view and from a coaching point of view, and obviously with the incomes and things like this with the tournament, I think you got to always remember and thank the people that came before us, all the players that played at this school when they didn't have all the luxuries of private charter and facilities like this. You know, those guys are the ones that created the game that we all benefit from today, and it's certainly with coaching. You know, and again, it's humbling when I think about, you know, my mentors, where Coach Knight started at West Point in Indiana, and then the life that we live today because of basketball. It's because of those people at our school, Gerald Myers and James Dickey and Coach Knight and all these people that came before us. They create the opportunities that we all have today as players and coaches. So that's on a day like today, I always reflect of where I came from and all the people that helped pave the road.
Just on that note, I guess when did the conversation start? And I guess how nice it just to kind of have it all kind of done and kind of behind you now.
Yeah, I've been so just kind of focused. I'm a simple, kind of boring guy, really. You know, it's just basketball is all I think about. But I appreciate Kirby and Tony and all the work that went on. Really wasn't a part of the process until lately, and I was, again, humbled and very appreciative. And to me, it just talks about how we're all on the same page going forward as we build the program. This year we've done some great things, but we're going to try to have an even better month of March, and then certainly as we build the program, we just want to continue to try to elevate it each and every year.
So I guess on that note, I guess what's the goal going into the Big 12 tournament? I know you've said it before. It's a one-game season. Obviously, if you lose, you're kind of out of it. So I guess what's kind of the goal this week?
Yeah, I think the objective is to try to play your best basketball as the season goes on in February and March. And what makes it a little bit more complicated this year for us is some of the adversity we've overcome with injuries and guys getting back. But we're no different than most teams. Everybody's dealing with something this time of year. So obviously the outcome you're looking forward, you know, to winning each game. But it's not that simple. I think what you have to control, what you can control, and that's for us trying to play the best basketball we can. And in our game the other night against TCU, it was great in the second half to kind of see some things that we maybe hadn't seen in a while, looking like our team might be getting back on track. But certainly the objective is to continue to try to play the best basketball we can as the season goes on. And to do that, it's all the individual parts, each player playing the best you can, each coach doing the best we can, and then hopefully together, you know, playing our best basketball when it matters the most.
So I guess the same question that I had for Zach. How would you assess the last few games coming into the end of the regular season, and how confident are you in your guys coming into the rest of the games in March?
Yeah, again, I think we're kind of just a work in progress, and that's true with every team. But this year it's just a kind of a different equation because we're adding people coming back. We've got guys playing banged up, so it's just kind of putting everything together to give us our best chance to win. Confident-wise, I have a lot of confidence in these players, and it doesn't come from the last couple of games or today. It comes from the process, from the first day that I met them, either inheriting them through Coach Smith's roster here or the guys that we've added. You know, it's my confidence comes from what these guys do on a day-to-day basis. Like today, I'm confident these guys are going to fuel their bodies like Big 12 champions. I'm confident the individual work's going to go on behind the scenes. I'm confident that each guy's going to get in the film room and do what they're supposed to do. I'm confident that guys are in the training room taking care of their bodies and all the different things that go through our process. That's where my confidence comes from.
What's your strategy for getting your team prepared when it comes to not knowing exactly what team you'll play until very short before tip?
Yeah, well, we'll obviously know the night before. So with this game, first of all, you spend a lot of time on yourselves this time of year. I thought Zach put it was well stated with the way he verbalized it. I mean, you're always getting ready for the competition, but you got to continue to kind of work on your own self too. For us defensively, it's doing the things that have got us here and even trying to improve in March. Offensively, it's continuing to get better. And certainly, it's one of two teams we're going to play. So this week in practice, we'll look at some things that both teams do. And certainly on Wednesday night, when we know who our opponent is, we'll shift our focus, work with the players Wednesday night, one session, and then Thursday, the day of the game, we'll have a couple of opportunities as well.
Hey, Coach, uncharted territory for you in many ways, but how huge is it for you guys, like you mentioned, health-wise there, but also having that first-round bye for the first time, one, for health, and two, for that goal of potentially winning the Big 12 tournament?
Yeah, those things go both ways. I've been on both sides of it. On one hand, it's good to play because momentum is such a good thing in college basketball. And eventually that's what our tournament comes down to, right? March Madness. It's getting hot and kind of continuing it. So if you ask me if I'd have rather played the first game or get the day off, it kind of goes back, it goes back and forth. Specifically with our team, obviously another day of rest helps us a lot because of some of the things we're dealing with. But momentum's a deal in March. It should never be underrated. So I think it kind of goes both ways.
The next part of the arms race, I guess, with regards to college recruiting, head coach getting locked up, getting new indoor facilities, and then it's a new practice facility, and then the next thing is kind of your assistant coaches getting taken care of. Are you going to be part of that conversation, or is that an individual basis for them?
Yeah, I respect the question, but all I'm thinking about right now is our team and the tournament. And so I'm confident that all that stuff gets taken care of, at the appropriate time. Right now, it's Iowa State or Texas. It's trying to get our team better.
And
Coach, since here going into this game on Thursday, you guys have only had to have played one game in the last 9 days. I guess how good do you think that is for you guys health-wise moving into it?
Yeah, I didn't know that. So what's that? That's the TCU game, 2 Thursday? And then West Virginia being Big Monday? Yeah. No, I think it's good. We got guys banged up, and with each day these guys can rest more. And obviously from a coaching standpoint, you always value days of practice. So that's an interesting ending that I hadn't thought of till you mentioned it. But I think, with most teams, right now we're all a little bit banged up. So whenever you get a little extra rest, maybe that can help you. Ultimately, though, you got to go play the game. And for us, when the ball goes up at 6 o'clock on Thursday night, the team that plays better is going to win. Everything you've done before that really doesn't matter. Anything that somebody thinks about you on paper really doesn't matter. The better team's going to win. And I think that's what's great about our sport. And ultimately, with March Madness, that's why it exists. So with us, again, our objective is just try to play the best basketball we have as the year goes on.
How much of a shift is there prep-wise, not just for you guys as a staff, but for the players now that your season kind of shifts from you're playing every kind of 4th or 5th day to where if you're winning, you're playing, 2 games every 3 days. It's kind of a burst schedule instead of all spread out like it is.
Right. Well, the purpose of any non-conference schedule is to kind of get yourself prepared for this. We've been in this situation in Connecticut. We played Boston College, and the next day we played Northwestern. We've also had a couple quick turnarounds. And that's actually on purpose. When you set your schedule, you want to challenge your team and put them in different situations. And so, we're prepared for anything that might come our way. It's stemming back from those experiences and learning, reminding your guys we've been in these situations before.
Got time for a couple more. We'll go to back. With kind of the adrenaline that goes through any player when it comes to March Madness, what do you tell your guys? Any piece of advice that you give them when it comes to kind of staying level-headed and treating it, like you say, one game at a time?
Yeah, definitely have advice for those guys and try to lead them the best we can. one thing I've been telling the players is they should have a lot of confidence in the coaching staff they're playing for. I looked at this the other day, but I think every coach on our staff has won a championship. Every coach on our staff has won a conference tournament situation. A couple guys on our staff have played and coached in Final Fours. And so we think a lot of the things that we set up for the guys, we're talking from experience. And with these guys, they got to continue to trust us, and they have. It's been a great group to coach. I don't think we have an active player that's ever won a conference tournament game or an NCAA tournament game on our roster. So to do that, I hope the guys rely on our coaching staff and a lot of the experiences that we have, to help them through some of these moments. But eventually, as you're going to build the program, you got to do things that have never been done before. And, if we're going to compete for a championship, the school's never been in a Final Four. The school's never played on the last Monday night. So as we build the program, we've already done a lot of firsts this year. And so we're going to have some more firsts this month to do the things that we'd all like to do.
So obviously there's a lot of young guys that are big contributors to this team, and coming into a big stage like this, how have the vets been in terms of mentoring them and getting them ready for this? Have they had a big influence?
Yeah, they've been great. I think many of you guys have talked to Culver and Z and Morrow and Malik and these guys, and even our transfers, Tommy and Brandon, playing on kind of different stage that they've played in before. And I think those young guys will be the first to tell you that our veteran group have done a great job with internal leadership. I've talked about it before. I think I've mentioned on each guy, whether it be Tommy or Naeem or Keenan or Zach, and then, especially Justin. Talk again about Justin's role. He's basically changed his role each year in college to do everything the team's asked of him. And one thing that he's done behind the scenes a lot is spent time with guys like Z and Culver. And so, leadership's such a huge thing in March. And it's not just from your coaching staff. You got to have internal leadership, and that always starts, with your older players, trying to help those guys through some experiences.
Zach, I know everyone's wondering, I guess, how's the ankle feeling right now?
It's feeling all right. Doing a lot of work on it. Just trying to get it ready for Thursday.
Are you just happy that you were able to kind of get a win, even though you weren't able to kind of contribute a little bit in that second half? Or I guess what was that kind of like for you to not be able to contribute there?
The win is definitely the most important part of the game, most important aspect of the game. And I feel like my contributions in the first half helped, and just do the best I can.
Kind of from a player's perspective, what are you guys kind of working on, knowing that you have two teams that you kind of prepare for? Is it more kind of focused on yourselves at this point?
I think throughout the year there's never a time not to focus on yourself, and it's just a better opportunity to focus on ourselves, not knowing who our next opponent will be.
How has just the overall progression been since you've returned from the injury? How are you feeling, and how would you assess your progress with the return?
I'd assess the progress is pretty well. Just going back out there, getting a rhythm, and just trying to stay healthy.
When you find out an initial diagnosis like you did earlier on, what goes into coming back early, getting back before people said you'd be back?
Just a positive mindset, coming in every day and just doing everything you can to get back.
So you've been here before, coming into March and going into the tournament, the Big 12 tournament being a higher seed. So what do you really have to do to really just be a mentor to the younger guys who haven't been here yet?
Just lock in and understand how important these games are, how important the details of every game are.
Zach, I just got to know, man. We didn't get a chance to talk to you the other night. The alley-oop from Keenan, he talked a little bit about it. So we hadn't seen, and you guys know each other so well. What was it like to do that? Obviously, you got banged up a little bit later in the game, but just knowing that you're on the precipice of doing that again and more often.
It was just great being able to, of course, be out there. And when Keenan threw it, I was, of course, going to take advantage of the opportunity and finish the best I could.
I know you're talking about staying healthy for March, but what's the goal for you guys this week? Ultimately, win the thing, but how do you approach the Big 12 tournament as opposed to next week or the upcoming weeks?
We got to approach the Big 12 tournament like we're going to win it, of course, and just take it as serious as we can. Just come ready to play.
Anything else for Zach? We'll go back to the back.
How would you assess the last few games of the season, and where do you think the team's at coming into the tournament in terms of confidence level and just everything else considered?
I think we're still pretty confident. We know what we're capable of. We're capable of beating everyone on our schedule, and we just got to go out there and do it.